So I think on Tim's album, this next track has to be one of my favourite tracks. It's called Cooney's Polkas, and Tim will tell you a wee bit more about this. So, Tim, could you tell everybody a wee bit more about the Cooney's Polkas and how it came about?
Yeah, so for anybody that sort of doesn't know my music, anyone that does will probably know this or will know this already. But I suppose my own music and life changed profoundly after I witnessed at the age of 16, I think I was 16, I might have been 15, I can't remember, but a concert of an Irish Australian duo called Begley and Cooney. Seamus Begley from Dingle and Steve Cooney from Melbourne in Australia. They were a huge act in Ireland. They were a household name. I mean, they still are in many respects, although they don't tour together anymore. Anyway, I was so lucky because I got to meet them. Two friends from Kent, two musicians, brought me up to see them, and Enda McCabe, Rob McGeorge, and Rick Clarke. They were responsible for taking me up to see them, and I met him in London in the Swan in Stockwell, and that night I got to play the accordion, the button accordion, and he played with me, and it's something that I think you'll just I've never forgotten it. And 2 years later, I went to Ireland with Rick Clarke, who was a bowround player in my band at the time called Strathnairn, and we went over with Sharon Shannon's sister, Mary Shannon. Mary took us down to Steve's studio in Ventry, Ballinclay, and that's Steve there at his studio, and Michael Nesbitt was his second engineer. And this for me was stuff. I mean, this was like meeting Eric Clapton. I mean, quite literally, for somebody in the folk world to go, over to Ireland and stay with Steve Cooney and hang out with him, get to play with him. It was like meeting Pink Floyd. He was like God. And anyway.
So could you tell everybody about how you got Steve to actually play on your album?
Yeah,
because that was quite a job, wasn't it?
That was quite a job. It really was. Well, Steve's he's a very,
it was tracking him down, wasn't it?
He's a hard man to track down, and he's a very busy man. And when I recorded with him, then I was an accordion player. I wasn't really a guitar. I mean, I played a bit of guitar, but I was just trying to learn his style. So anyway, fast forward to when we did this album. A dream was to have Steve playing guitars and bass on a couple of tracks, and I thought, oh my God, I'd asked him a few times before, and he'd been too busy. I think as well, to be honest, some of that is a kind of spiritual thing, because I think he kind of maybe saw me maturing as a musician and being ready to play with him. Perhaps I might, I don't think he'd mind me saying that, and I think he was right, because I sent him these tracks, this Cooney's Polkas, which I'll put it on now. And Lucy Randall is another great friend of mine from Kent. She's an amazing percussionist. She plays percussion on this, and I put down the initial track, sent it to Steve, and this is what came back. Robin obviously mixed this and engineered it, and he sent this incredible, fretless bass. It's almost like the bass leads it if you listen to it. He's the most incredible bass player as well as guitar player, and we just, it's unique. It's quite unique. I mean, Robin has obviously a part in this as well. But the
production is fabulous. It's really good.
But it's Steve. Suddenly, in a minute, this mountain of guitars come in, and that's the Steve Cooney trademark sound. Here we go. And it just, the rhythm in it just it was just amazing. And maybe I'll just quickly fast forward to get a little bit further on. In the track, I don't know if I can do that, but let's see.
And the other track, how about the other track that Steve played on? It was called
That's the
there we go.
That's a sort of wall of sound, and you know, he has this amazing style, you know. I mean, you hear the bass, tribal, you know. I get such a buzz. You can see it affects me. I live for this stuff. Quite literally, I just love it. You know, and I'm getting all excited. That was, he sent this back, and Robin rang me up. He said, "God," he said, "I've just had the files from Steve." And I mean, Robin didn't have to do a whole lot to that. I think Robin did a lot of production with the beginning bit, the bass, but it was just absolutely incredible. And Steve emailed us back and he said, "Are you sure that they were only first takes?" And I said, "Steve," I said, "That's just like the best playing I think I've ever heard." And then the icing on the cake and the top and tail of the album, there's a lot of tracks on this album. There's 11 tracks, but one other favourite, I think my favourite, is a tune that Steve wrote, which he wrote it for a...
Oh, this is the other track.
This is called My Prayer. Now, Steve recorded this with Vinnie Kilduff, who me and Isabel got to hang out with in London a couple of times. Vinnie's another legend. He played with U2 and In Tua Nua and, Clanad. And anyway, we did this track. Now, I played this track. This is all I did. I just played it on a guitar. I just went... I did that intro, and then I played the tune, which is... Sorry. And the idea was to get to have a duet with my mentor, and that's exactly what happened. And just wait till you hear what he did with it. He added all these vocal lines, and it's just what I'll play it for you now. So My Prayer, and Steve, of course, plays electric guitar on this as well. I'm sort of playing the lead there, and he plays this beautiful sort of accompaniment line, and then I'll fast forward on a little bit just so you can hear his guitar solo, because he plays a stunning electric solo just coming up. And a lot of people said to me, "Is that Mark Knopfler you've got playing on your album?" I said, "No," I said, "It's Steve Cooney." I told that to Steve, he loved that. I think it's just coming up now. That's him singing and playing Stratocaster. That's beautiful. Both coming together here. Listen to that electric playing. Beautiful. And that's My Prayer. I mean, you can,
beautiful track.
It's a
really nice.
It is. And the funny thing, when we released this, that got a lot of airplay, that track, and Robin had been mixing it. I think it was about 4 or 5 in the morning in the mountains, well, up in the hills here in Scotland, and the birds were in, and that's on the recording as well. And there's other tracks. There's a track called Ava's Dance, which was dedicated and written about our daughter Isabel and my our first daughter Ava. But it's just, it's a really lovely album to make. And Patsy Reid, it has to be said, she had a huge input on this, and of course Robin Evans and Mr. Cooney and Lucy. But I'll just play the birds. A beautiful finish to to a lot, to a record. Now,
well, it's a great album. That you should really be proud of, isn't it?
Yeah, I without sounding sort of egotistical, I think
so.
it is the best.
Where can people buy this?
Yeah,
can you tell people where you can get a hold of it?
So, guys, recently, a friend of mine in Ireland and a legendary singer in his own right, Luca Bloom. Luca's kind of started a movement. In a way, us independent musicians, we're not signed to record labels. Everything on this album, me and Isabel paid for.
Can I just show people?
Yeah, we
have you got the?
Yeah, everything on this record, from paying the session musicians to paying the studio, paying the CD pressing, every single part of it, including the PRS.
Yeah, and
you name it.
Photos as well.
Yeah, Judith
Burrows,
very good photographer in London. Yeah. Everything you see on this and everything you hear was paid for by myself and Isabel. As a family, and we didn't have any external support. There was no funding. There was no anything. Now that's called being an independent musician in the true sense, because you're not. Yeah, you're not borrowing money off anybody. Now the great thing about that is, of course, you own the product, and it probably paid for itself, I think. Yeah. But you can buy. Yeah, you can buy the album on my website, www.timedey.com. It's on.
And is it the shop? It's on the shop page. Yeah.
Now you can't download it anywhere else now. I've taken all my music off Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, everything, because I just found I after you pay the percentages, and I mean we won't even talk about Spotify, but yeah, so only now everything is on my website, and this album's on it. And
so if you would like a copy,
it's 50 available. Just 50, literally
50 available. Yeah. Only 50 left.
And you can download it as well. But if you were gonna,
that's a CD. There's 50 CD copies left.
Somebody asked me, what album would I buy of yours, which is your favourite, and I always say this one, because I love all the albums, but this one was special. I think it really was. And incidentally, I'm doing an album with Patsy Reid, actually, as we speak. Patsy,
which you're excited about.
Very, very excited. I'm doing a sort of more jazz-based album with Patsy. Of course, in lockdown, Patsy lives about 10 miles away, but we haven't seen each other because, you're not allowed to. But she's just, oh my God.
And there's going to be some guests as well, along with Patsy on that album, which I suppose will soon be disclosed in future.
But thank you to Isabel for putting all this together. Please, if you feel like supporting us, buy the album. This is a cottage industry. You can even see our makeshift distribution centre down here. It's quite literally a 2-bedroom apartment becomes a post office and a studio. And it's interesting.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks.